Arizona State's 2024 playoff run has the Sun Devils trending. Are they going to hit in the portal, and how's their recruiting doing? That's next on the Portal Podcast.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back into the Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal news. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football writer and recruiting analyst. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at 5 Hour Energy. Head over to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from. If you need one now, you can grab a 5 Hour Energy at your local grocery or convenience store. Stock up today and stay energized. All things Arizona State today. We're going to be talking about their transfer portal that they've already secured from the winter window, what they need to do in the spring window. Big questions about NIL there for the Sun Devils. And they were trending with recruits. They have broadened their horizons, if you will, in the Valley of the Sun as their recruiting has picked up. And to help me do all of this, my guy over here, Richie Bradshaw, Locked On Sun Devils. Hey, man, you guys are still kind of the Cinderella story from last year along with Boise, but I think you've obviously got more staying power than Boise by a mile. This is a unique program, and it's one that I'm fascinated with. Before we dive into all the transfer portal and all that, are you still a little surprised that it went from 3-9 to the playoff in 1 year? Just like a basic question here. Like, was it boom, and I'm just like taken back, or has it finally sunk in?
No, it blew me away. And one of the things that I've said consistently is no one saw this coming. And if you did, you were the most diehard, probably delusional fan out there, and I love you for it. You're my favorite person in the whole world. I had said over the summer, I think they go 7-5 and find a way to get to a bowl game, really build off of a year that you were 3-9, but you showed a lot more fight than you have in previous years. And I was like, that feels like a best case scenario. So when they go undefeated at home and they finish the year with 10 wins, and then they go to the Big 12 championship game and stomp Iowa State, and then go to the Peach Bowl and slug it out with Texas before finally waking up in the fourth quarter and taking them to double overtime, I'm sitting there, I'm like, I still can't believe what I saw in year two. But I am buying in to what's going on right now because of this culture they're establishing and the way that Kenny Dillingham is getting players to buy into the program. And yeah, I mean, we'll explore it more as we talk, but it's really fun what's going on here, and it's a special thing right now.
Well, let's dive right into it then. Arizona State did well in the winter portal window. They lost guys, they added guys. Of course, I mean, Scatterboo, I don't know if you can remotely replace from an energy standpoint and what he means and all that. That's a unnatural thing to attack, to be really honest. Forget the production and the style of play, because he was just superhuman. And I wish him all the best in the NFL. But where do you think they hit the most in the winter portal? And then we'll get into a little bit later what they still need to do in the spring portal.
Well, I think that their biggest priority was to add players to the wide receiver position and to the secondary. And ASU is returning Jordan Tyson, who is quietly one of the better receivers in the Big 12. And now that Tedero McMillan is gone from Arizona and both of the Iowa State kids are gone from Iowa State, there's a huge opening for Tyson to step into the stardom role and become that guy. He had 1,100 yards last year despite missing the postseason. And it was a special year. Him and Sam Levitt are basically one and the same. You'd think that those guys are just connected mentally the way that they get it going. But beyond that, I don't see nothing. Troy O'Mary entered the transfer portal. Jake Smith ran out of eligibility. Xavier Gillier ran out of eligibility. Melkon Stovall ran out of eligibility. Suddenly, this receiver room is completely barren with guys who have never seen the field and just flat out, I mean, I don't know how many guys were on there. I'd say it was less than 5. So they go into the transfer portal. They bring in Noble Johnson from Clemson. They bring in Jaron Hamilton from Alabama. And they bring in Jalen Moss from Fresno State. And all three of those guys could potentially find roles very early on. They also attacked the secondary, and they were returning a lot of players. They returned both their starting safeties and both of their outside corners, but then you have to replace Shamari Simmons, who was a terrific nickel corner slash third safety for the team. If anyone doesn't remember who he is, in the start of the second half against Texas, he's the one who popped the Texas running back and forced the fumble, and Quinn Ewers was like, I'm just going to take a safety here. That's Shamari Simmons. You have to find a way to replace him, so what does ASU do? They bring in a ton of guys who can play safety and play corner. Adrian Wilson, a.k.a. Boogie Wilson, coming from Washington State, has that similarity to him in his game where he has some corner experience. They bring in Kendrick Breedlove, who feels like a very natural fit as a nickel corner. I've been told and I have seen at some practices that he's getting some reps at safety. And Nyland Green is coming in, a former really highly recruited kid out of high school. I don't think he lines up in the role of nickel, but ASU has an emphasis on a third boundary corner with the team. Last year, that was LaTerrence Welsh, the transfer from LSU. He's no longer with the team. I think Nyland has an opportunity to compete there. So there was a lot of emphasis at receiver and in the secondary.
It's interesting. Like, I remember Nyland Green. He was a guy that overall was considered to be one of the best players in the country coming out of high school. And again, these things, it depends on what you want. Like 24/7 had him as a 5-star guy. He goes to Purdue, and it didn't work out for that program. I think they just put too many guys in bad spots. They tried to play cover one all day, and they weren't ready for that. But Green's got all the talent in the world, and he lives just outside of Atlanta, so he played against elite competition. He knows what it looks like. He's the one that I'm most interested in because it may take a year. I don't know, but he's got NFL talent. If you've got an NFL corner, I don't care if you're playing zone, if you're playing match, if you're playing man, or a combination of those three coverages, he has the length, the speed, and the change of direction you're looking for. How those other guys fit in is going to be interesting to me because, like, some of them, like the receivers you brought up, they were all guys that were backups, but at major programs. I'll just use one guy as an example. Jaron Hamilton didn't make an impact at Alabama the way he wanted to, I'm sure. But that doesn't mean Alabama recruited him because they just needed a receiver. It's still Alabama. Last year, Arizona State hit the home run more than any other program, kind of like Florida State did a couple years before. We're finding guys that hadn't produced a ton, but then all of a sudden they get to that program and they elevate. So the question is, can Arizona State do that? Well, they just did it once. So now how do you do it again? I mean, they got some momentum now because there's got to be more belief behind the program and how the strength program works and everything else. You add all those guys like Nyland Green. No offense to Purdue, but I don't think that staff knew what they were doing. They were awful. I expect him to take a big jump. Again, like 24/7 isn't going to miss on a kid, suburban Atlanta like that. And it's a kid that I saw play. He's really good. I think Arizona State has some sleepers based on where the rankings are for these portal. Portal rankings are really hard because you don't know where a kid is mentally after they're like leaving Purdue. I mean, they were god awful. So Green might be a guy that takes a huge jump after he gets through spring and all that. Who knows? But it's really, really fascinating. I've got a couple of questions for you overall, but one that I just thought of, is there anybody you think is going to make like out of the box, just boom, game one, this transfer has a chance to be an impact guy? And if there's more than one, that's fine, but is there at least one guy you think most likely to make an impact for the Devils?
Yeah, very easy decision for me to tell you. And depending on where you're looking, like you said, it's so funny how these transfer rankings get put out. And I think a lot of it is based off of where they previously were 100%. In high school. But you know who doesn't have a high rating that is almost guaranteed a starting spot depending on how camp goes? Kanye Udo. The transfer from Army ran for over 1,100 yards last year as essentially their second runner because, you know, Army, their quarterback's going to get 300 carries. But Udo was coming in, and he's going to try and help replace Cam Scadaboo. And you brought that up earlier. And the way that ASU has to look at this is classic Moneyball. You can't replace Cam Scadaboo, but you can replace him in the aggregate. And they've got some guys on the roster, Kyson Brown, Raleek Brown, Alton McCaskill, some younger guys as well, who can help. And then Udo's going to come in as the guy with the most production of any of the guys, and he could potentially be the lead back while Kyson Brown gets involved. And Kyson's going to be a name to watch this year for the Sun Devils. They are going to try and find a way to replicate the production, not so much the player, which that is what it is. You're not replacing Scadaboo, who is one of the greatest players in Sun Devil program history with only 2 seasons with the team. But Kanye Udo has the absolute best shot to be a starter week 1 for the Sun Devils, and of everyone on this transfer class, and I do like a handful of guys. Jalen Moss has me very, very excited to line up as a slot receiver for the team. Kanye Udo is unmatched in the way that he should be a week 1 starter and one of the biggest producers on this team. I wouldn't be surprised if he was a 1,000-yard runner, even if he were to be in a very split backfield. That's how talented he is, and ASU's offensive line is mostly all back, and the team loves to run the football.
When we come back, I'm going to ask Richie about what they need from the spring window. It opens on April 16th. That is next here on The Portal. Life moves fast, especially when you have a family. One day you're watching your kids take their first steps, and before you know it, they're off to college. That's why securing their future is so important. Fabric by Gerber Life makes it simple to get term life insurance that fits your family's needs. With Fabric, you can apply for term life insurance online right from your couch. You could be covered in under 10 minutes. In many cases, no health exam is even needed. As a parent, you want to make sure that your family is financially protected no matter what happens. Fabric gives you that opportunity for peace of mind. And it's also beyond life insurance because Fabric also offers free digital wills and access to investment accounts to help you plan for your children's future. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their families. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. That's meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company, not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions. We are also brought to you by Prize Picks. Baseball season's now in full swing, and there's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and if you're right, you can win up to $1,000 your cash. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs, Prize Picks helps every game be more exciting. Build up your lineup, and this week I'm picking Aaron Judge for more than 1 home run and Shohei Ohtani for more than 1 stolen base. It's that easy. There's my 2. For you, it could be something else. It could be a pitcher getting a win, a pitcher getting a save, whatever it is. Make sure you check it out with Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 off instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, Richie, we got some questions for you now. This is totally subjective. There's the spring window, opens on the 16th, ends on the 25th, so a 10-day window for the transfer portal. What do they need is basically what this is going to be about. But let's go by position. If you were to rank the 3 biggest positions still for the Devils, what would they be and what would that order be?
I would start, number 1 priority is the edge rusher spot. So Clayton Smith is back. He was a 5-star coming out. He plays 1 year at Oklahoma. He comes to Arizona State. He is immediately in a rotation his first year, full-time starter last year, and with his final year of eligibility, he is the number 1 undisputed edge rusher for the team. Next to him, you've got 2 guys that I'm confident with. Elijah O'Neal, who started a lot of games last year and was granted another year of eligibility after the NCAA ruling came down for the extra year for the former JUCO players, and Prince Dorba, another highly recruited kid who transferred to the program the same time as Clayton, and this is his last year of eligibility. Prince was the top guy in 2023. Last year, he was banged up, so we didn't see him as much. He should be healthy, and those 3 give you a great rotation. There is not a lot after those 3. I like Justin Watley quite a bit, although I'm biased because I have a personal relationship with him. But the depth is not really there at edge rusher right now, and ASU struggled to generate sacks last year. They got some decent pressure, but at some point as a defense, you have to convert pressure into sacks, and ASU did not do that, so they need to get another edge rusher. Number 2 is going to be wide receiver. I do like the additions they've made, and with Jordan Tyson back and Jalen Moss on this roster, I feel confident that you have 2 starters right now. Malik McClain, who played at Penn State a couple of years ago. We only saw him last year really for 2 games, both in the postseason, 40-plus yard catch against Iowa State and a 40-plus yard touchdown against Texas, courtesy of Cam Scadaboo tossing that ball, and he had to fire off a few arrows to celebrate it. But I still need more depth, and what I need is proven depth. I like some of the younger guys. Henry Hausman has been a very fun surprise right now as a true freshman. Derek Eusebio has seemingly come out of nowhere for the team. There's some guys I like, but if they can get one more proven guy, someone that's got a lot of experience, I would love to see that. And then the third one, I'm going to catch you off guard here, is quarterback. I love Sam Leavitt for obvious reasons, and we don't need to go into detail. Quarterback 2, Jeff Sims, he is what he is. We know what he is from the amount of programs he's been to, the starts that he has had. He's fine for what you're getting. You hope he doesn't get on the field. The ASU roster is talented enough that, God forbid, if he does, you could still be able to get away with him starting a game or 2. And then after that, get this, Brian. There is not a single quarterback on the roster that has taken a snap in college football after Jeff Sims. You have 2 true freshmen in Michael Tollefson and Cam Dyer from New Mexico. Dyer's out for the year recovering from an ACL surgery. And then the other guy is Navi Bruzon, who is arguably the greatest high school football player in the history of Arizona as a state. He had to redshirt last year. I mean, he's got a lot to work on. And I mean, if Sam goes down and you have Jeff Sims, there is nobody there, or vice versa. And it's just Sam Leavitt. There is nobody there that has taken a single snap of college football. So I want to look for someone who can be a quarterback 3 and potentially push Jeff Sims to be the quarterback 2, because Sims, it appears he's all in on this program for his final year, even though he's incredibly unlikely to start at any point during the year. But I need a third quarterback here. Last year we had Trenton Bourguet, and Bourguet, for his limitations, started pretty much a season's worth of football games with ASU, so at least we knew that he had the potential to come in, whether that was good or bad. They do not have a third guy right now, and I like what's there. I am much higher on Butter Tollefson than a lot of people are after the craziest senior season that a high school football player has seen in my time of paying attention. And I like Navi Bruzon. I need a third guy that has seen playing time. That's my biggest need right now. And otherwise, I mean, you can stack some depth at corner or defensive tackle or the interior of the offensive line, but I don't know how many people are on board with me. And maybe I'm crazy for saying it, but I really need this team to add a quarterback. That is one of my absolute top priorities when the transfer portal rolls around.
I don't blame you, because a backup quarterback that has some experience is important. And if you're not sure about Sims, you can call it what you want, because he's technically the number 2, obviously.
Right.
But is he? You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
Get your point.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you're listed doesn't mean you're viable. So
it matters in college too. Like I know in the NFL, if you're on your number 2 quarterback, you're not feeling good. But in college, you need a room with guys.
Yeah, it's a different kind of situation.
Right.
Question 2, are you worried in the spring portal that the NIL at ASU will keep them from getting, especially elite guys? Is it not developed enough yet unless they just funnel all their money into like 1 or 2 players?
You know, we were talking about this off mic before we got started, and we have looked at ASU and their NIL growth, and it's been substantial. The development that we've seen in the last 2 years, through the roof. Here's the problem. It was basically non-existent before. So you're talking about getting a lot better when there was literally nothing there. So you're still not even remotely ready to compete with some of the big powers in college football. You're not remotely ready for programs like BYU and SMU who have deep, deep pockets to be able to bring in those guys. And yeah, they may not be those 10-win programs, but when SMU's giving me a call and they're giving me a pretty hefty amount of money, and I see they're trending up, I'm like, yeah, I can be a Mustang. Why not? ASU's not ready for that. And that's one of the reasons that I believe, without being able to confirm, they weren't able to pull in the Branch brothers when Zachariah was out here visiting, or why Deuce Robinson was not able to get reeled in. You're bringing the guys in for visits. That's awesome. It shows that people are taking an interest in ASU. But until you are able to reel them in and keep them here, you're still going to be behind some other schools, and the NIL is a huge factor for this program. So if some big fish enter the portal, if we see some 5-stars out there, former 5-stars, I should say, if we see some really quality 4-stars, or if they're even trying to be in the mix for the Stanford kid, which they're not even remotely in it, but the NIL certainly matters right now. It's that stage of college football. Whether you love it or you hate it, it's here to stay. So they've got a lot of work to do, and that's one of the things that's going to keep them out of the competition should Texas get involved. Should Texas A&M get involved? Should Ohio State or Alabama get involved? You're behind. You are much further behind.
Finally, for the 3 questions, do you just think overall numbers that they'll end up adding more offensive or defensive players from the spring window?
That's so tough because with the winter window, Kenny Dillingham said, hey, we're not really looking to add a lot of guys, maybe 8, 10 at the most. They bring in 12 guys, which isn't overly surprising. ASU does have some big names to replace. And through spring practice so far, what I have witnessed and what I have spoken to other people have witnessed is this group looks really, really quality, but they are behind some of the guys on the roster. The biggest example I can give you is at corner. Kendrick Breedlove and Nyland Green. Funny enough, both of them come from Purdue. 2 years ago, even last year, they could have waltzed into starting spots. I would tell you they are firmly on the second team right now because guys like Rodney Bimmage and Montana Warren, who have been at the program for several years now, have taken that step to develop and get to that next level. So when we're looking at how we're going to address it for the spring portal, it's just tough to truly assess because you're like, I like what we have, but at the same time, we need that depth. And I think I would lean towards the offense right now because I do think you need that quarterback. I want at least one more receiver in this room. I love the competition that's been going on, but I still am not overly confident in it. I think running back is fine. If you brought a guy in, I don't need a huge name. Maybe someone that's just got some extra eligibility because you could have Kanye Udo, Kyson Brown, and Raleek Brown, who's still on this roster, all leave the team next year. So I would like another guy in that backfield. Alt McCaskill's on his last year too. And I could use some guys on the interior of the offensive line. I like what we have at tackle. We're trying to fill the center position where Lee Fotanu left. He was an all-conference player last year. They took Ben Coleman, a superstar left guard. It was an honorable mention Big 12 member. Kicked him inside the center. He looks pretty good, but left guard's wide open. I have seen tons of rotation there. Give me an interior guy. I do not have to worry about tight end. I'm very confident there with Shimon Mateer, who was the starter last year. Kamari Anderson transferred from Kentucky. I was blown away. Brian, I had no idea what to expect from him. And I'm kind of sitting there, I'm like, I feel like you're putting a hat on a hat because I liked what you had at tight end. And seeing him in spring, I'm like, he looks like a starter. Like, he looks like the guy that's Shimon Mateer cannot sleep with him behind him. But then your freshmen are out there. AJ Ia has blown me away. He looks like a linebacker coming out of high school. Jaden Fortier looks 100% confident and ready to go after missing last year. They are set at tight end. So if you're looking at offense, and I think that's the way you need to go, give me a quarterback, give me a receiver. I'm okay with a running back. And then if they wanted to add 2 more offensive linemen, I'm totally on board with that. Defensively, it's got to be on the defensive line for me. They're stacked at linebacker. I think they've done more than enough in the secondary. Give me a couple of edge rushers, but I feel like there's more to address offensively than defensively right now.
When we come back, we're going to switch over to recruiting. Can the Sun Devils take that next step and start landing some big-time players? That is next here on The Portal. Daylight savings snuck up on us again, and if you're feeling that lost hour of sleep, 5-Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through. Whether you're staying up late watching the NCAA basketball tournament or squeezing in a round of golf after work or just trying to keep up with your busy day, 5-Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. For most people in America, staying up and watching the tournament late at night, there's a reason that you're using a 5-Hour Energy, but there are other reasons too. Even if you just went out with some friends and probably stayed up a little bit too late watching a movie, 5-Hour Energy can be that boost for you wherever you go. And remember, wherever you go, it's convenient. Convenience store, grocery store, there's a place to get it. Head over to 5hourenergy.com to find 15 flavors or more. And you can also pick up a 12-pack or 24-pack and have it delivered to your door from 5hourenergy.com. So needing one now, go ahead and get one from the grocery store, convenience store, and stay stocked up today and stay energized with 5-Hour Energy. Richie, the recruiting for Arizona State is intriguing. I did a little research and was just kind of looking at it. And I used, for state of the record here, I use 24/7 Sports for the totality of visits, and this changes every day, so it might be off by 1 or 2 or something, but they have 27 OVs set up. The official visits are kind of spread out over all the spots, but I noticed a trend that I like, and I know you do as well. 7 D-line, 5 O-line. That's about 45% of their visits are in the trenches. Now, when you look at the teams, including Arizona State, that did well in the playoff, the trenches were key. ASU's O-line gelled a lot more than I'm sure you even thought it would, and I'm sure Cam Scatterby absolutely applauds that, by the way. But if you're going to win year after year, even if your quarterback play doesn't meet fan expectations, hint, about 99% of the time it doesn't with fans, that's another story, you have to win in the trenches, especially at the college level, because these are not professional players, even though they're getting paid. It's not true pro football. At least not yet. So with that being stated, I was very happy to see that. Do you see an uptick, because you follow ASU on the daily? Is it recruiting that is being more prioritized? Because they had to be more portal heavy last year, obviously. I mean, they were coming off 3-9. They needed a lot of help, and they hit the home run. But are they starting to slowly shift to the high school ranks more to try to build long-term? Or is it just because Arizona State's a hot name that so many good players are taking visits to the Valley of the Sun?
Oh, no, it's very much the fact that this program is trending up right now, and you have the ability to start advertising yourself to these 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. We look at the first 2 years of Kenny Dillingham. It wasn't quite what Colorado did, but they had close to 50 transfers that had come over the 2023 and 2024 seasons, because they had to out of necessity. There's a reason why at the end of the season during Kenny Dillingham's exit press conference that he had said, yeah, we're not really going to add too many guys in the transfer portal. We like what we have. And through spring ball that I have witnessed and that I have spoken with other people, you are seeing the guys on the roster that are outplaying the transfers that are on this team. I mean, it's been terrific to see. You and I both know when it comes to college football, it's the third year that is the most important for a new head coach. And the reason why is now you're seeing your recruits on the field. The previous regime, they have likely graduated at this point. Maybe some of them entered the transfer portal that's wide open now compared to what it was 10 years ago. But this is third year of Kenny Dillingham. Now is the time to see if he's a good recruiter, which we've seen he is a really good recruiter when he was at Oregon and when he was at Florida State. But now it's time to find out, can you coach the kids? Because Kevin Sumlin, one of the best recruiters that we've seen in the last 10 to 15 years in college football, he is not a head coach for right now, unless it's someplace that I'm completely unaware of. He was a phenomenal recruiter at Texas A&M They had an insane amount of guys that went through there. And I mean, Jimbo Fisher had the greatest recruiting class ever that did nothing with it. You can recruit your tail off. You have to be able to coach these kids up. And I think that's where Kenny Dillingham is at right now, is it's like, yeah, I trust what we got going on here. So we don't need to be heavy players in the transfer portal. If we can land a big fish, we're going to take a big fish. But we like what's going on here. And that's a trend that they're going to start trending towards now that you're in that year 3. There is going to be a much higher emphasis on trying to get these kids that are out of high school. The first year Kenny Dillingham got here, he somehow swung and got Jaden Rashada. At the time, huge hit. Since then, not so much. Last year, he landed 2 4-stars for 2026's class. He is, I skipped one. 2024, he got 2 4-stars. 2025, he got 2 4-stars. 2026, he's already got 2 4-stars. And they're trending in a direction to land several more. Several more. The recruiting is upticking right now because people are, these kids and these parents are seeing what's going on at Arizona State. They're buying into it.
I think the player that I'm most curious about is Jake Fetty. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Fetty. He's out of El Paso, and I watched his film. I'm like, holy cow. He's ranked as high as number 39 by On3, and his lowest ranking is only 204 by Rival. So he's well thought of out of the 4 major networks. And he's just got the deep ball accuracy. He's a guy that can make all the throws. I think Dillingham was going to really do something with him. They've got an offensive tackle that I'm curious about named Cortavius Tisby. He's a kid out of Dallas, South Oak Cliff. It's one of the best programs in the state of Texas. It's been good for quite a while. You know, you get guys that are 6'6", 300-plus pounds coming out of that program. I'm interested. They've already added some pieces like that, but they got, again, we'll find out more once the visits get here. We're on the cusp of that. May is really when the visits start hitting, that last weekend. And then in June, it's all hands on deck. But if they end up with a top 20 class, it wouldn't surprise me. It just depends. You got to be kind of careful with class rankings now. How much are you going to use portal compared to high school? Because at the end of the day, it's the combination that matters. I think Arizona State's high school recruiting, though, moving forward, and I don't think Dillingham's going anywhere, they're probably going to be a top 15 recruiting school if they have a good year. Like you said earlier, if they win 2 years in a row, if they have it proven to people, it's not hard to sell Phoenix. It's not hard to sell that at all. And they've already been to the playoff once. So I'm really curious about it. Richie, I'll get you out of here on this. If there's one thing that you want to see from this recruiting class, just the high school ranks, what would it be?
For 2026?
Yep.
I want to see them be able to hang on to some of their bigger recruits. This past year for 2025 was really up and down, and they weren't able to land kids. They were in on Cooper Perry right up until the last second, who was the top-rated kid in Arizona. The receivers coach, Brian Carrington, moves to Oregon. That sealed the deal. Adrian Wilson comes in from Texas. His recruiting process was really interesting. It felt like he was going to stay, and then he didn't. So ASU needs to be able to hold on to these guys. And the big rumor right now is Jake Fetty is a very sought-after commodity, and LSU is throwing the kitchen sink at him. Now, I have heard that Fetty is all in on ASU, and it would take a lot at this point to flip him. And it sounds like with each passing day, it's getting less and less likely that that's going to happen. We've also got Israel Briggs, a 4-star, I almost said transfer, tight end, and he is the highest rated tight end recruit you have had, I think, since Zach Miller. And Zach Miller is the second highest rated recruit you've ever had, period. They've got Hayden Bircher, who's currently a 3-star tight end. I think he could bump himself up to a 4-star, and he is insanely talented. Right now, they need to hold on to those top 3 guys and the whole class. They've got 6 kids already. You need to retain them to have me believe that this recruiting is truly, truly all in right now and that you're trending upward. You cannot lose guys. You cannot lose your top guys, or else we're still going to be in this limbo of like, when are we going to figure it out? This should be the class where you figure it out, especially with some 4-stars that are visiting that I feel incredibly confident will commit and a huge opportunity to flip some kids as well.
Where can everybody find your work, my friend?
Well, you can always check me out on my Twitter at RichieBrads36. You can find the podcast on Twitter as well at LO_Sun Devils, and we can get your podcast anywhere, free and available, and YouTube. Definitely check out YouTube. We're having a great time over there. Over 1,700 followers. We're closing in on 2,000. Having a great time.
I appreciate that, my friend. You can find us all the same places you can find Richie: YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and Odyssey, and everywhere else. Please like and subscribe. We will see you again soon on the Portal Podcast.